everybody. Welcome to week 2 of Hanging with Pastor Cooper. I'm so excited for our interview this week. All right, last week we interviewed Miss Miranda, but this week we're interviewing the Goodriches, Earl and Laura Goodrich. They're a missionary couple from Africa. They spent over 20 years in South Africa being missionaries to children there. I'm so excited for them to share with you guys today. Before we get into the interview though, I want to share with you guys, we have this 21-day prayer journal that they're going to explain more about, and I'm challenging all of our families here at church to go through it together. All right, if you need one, you can come pick it up at the church with Miss Stacy. She has them at her desk, or if you need me to deliver it, I will come deliver it to you this week. All right, please let me know. You can get a hold of me on my cell phone if you have my number, or you can get me on Facebook or email me at cfrank@meadow.org. All right, well, I'm going to tune in to our interview with Earl and Laura Goodrich. I guess we'll jump right in. And so the first question I have for you guys is how did we meet? Do you guys remember how we met?
Yes, we do. In 2017, you got to come to South Africa on the trip of your life and go to Jackson's Ridge and help with 2 camps and go to churches and to visit schools and do ministry all over South Africa. We had a really great time meeting you then.
Yeah, I loved it, and it was a lot of fun. And before that, I'd only been to South America, so it was definitely, I've been to South America 6-7 times, and so going to different, I kind of thought I had missions in a box and had known what missions was, and then to go to different continents, like just it changes everything. So
absolutely, Africa is amazing.
Yeah, it is. Well, that kind of leads into the next question is, where are you guys missionaries to? So we said Africa and you said South Africa, but you guys, you're a little bit different. You're not just South Africa, right?
No, we're not.
Yeah, we've been missionaries to South Africa for many years. What is it, over 20 years?
21 years now.
21 years now. And now we serve the continent in various roles. I'm the director of HWPC Africa's ministry to children called Africa's Children, and so our goal is to help build children's ministries in local churches all over the continent, so that every child on the continent will have a child-friendly church that has a great program ready for them to go to and learn about Christ and experience His love.
That's awesome. And then Laura, you assist with that, or you have your own role, right?
I do. So we do have a house in South Africa, and we travel from there all over the continent, and I work in the area of administration. So I help people with bookkeeping systems and with organization systems, a lot of Bible schools and a lot of missionaries that are hosting a lot of teams and needing to coordinate and organize all of that. I also work with Africa's Hope, which helps all of our Bible schools in Africa with resources like textbooks and libraries and computer labs and dormitories. So I work with Africa's Hope, also in administration, but helping the behind the scenes things happen so that the work on the ground can take place.
All right, so you make everything happen. So you might not be doing the work, but you make sure it happens and gets done.
We make sure that the books get shipped and they get printed and the computers get bought and the money is there to build the dormitories.
Yeah, awesome. Well, so some of us might have an idea of what African culture is. You know, we've seen Lion King, so that tells us exactly what Africa's right?
Totally.
But so our kids here can know what Africa is. What's the culture like there? What's it like to be a kid there in Africa?
I'd say it looks very different than here. For one thing, as a kid, you are going to walk everywhere. You're going to walk outside your house and walk down the street, go to your friend's house, go to your neighbor's houses, walk to school, walk home from school. You're going to be outside a lot. You're not going to be hopping in a car, driving here, driving there. You're on your own 2 feet a lot of the time. So that's, I think, the first big thing that kids from America would find is that you have that freedom to walk all over the place. But your neighbors all know you and your mom, and if you're being naughty, they're gonna let your mom know about it for sure. So I think that would be one big difference.
Okay.
One of my favorite things to see when I go into a township or a village, I often see children that have made their own toys. So they have gathered together like soccer balls. They will a bunch of like plastic bags together and newspapers are tied, and then tie string around it, or if they can find tape, they tape it up, and so they will create their own little soccer balls. And the other thing you see a lot are kids that have made their own toy cars out of wire, and they're very. I mean, some of these cars are amazing because the wheels turn, and they have a little wire that goes up from the car, and so the kids can have this little handle and drive it while they're standing. And
Wow.
And the ingenuity and the creativity is amazing. I love it.
The girls will collect rubber bands and small pieces of elastic and tie them all together and make long ropes. And they will do the games where they flip the ropes around and jump and skip and play games like that. But they've made their own jump rope out of little pieces of rubber band and elastic that they've collected and tied together.
It's pretty awesome. I guess you gotta get kind of creative with that. So, so it's quite a bit different being a kid there than it is here in Illinois, because you guys are from Illinois as well.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what it's like being here, kids growing up, and so you've seen the vast difference with that. I know you guys said you guys aren't initially like serving with, like, you're not the ones sharing with the kids, but you're making sure stuff happens. But how do you guys share Jesus with people around you, or how do you empower people to share Jesus with kids around them?
Yeah, so one thing that we love to do in Africa that we get to do, not as much as before, but we still get to do it, is what we call a children's evangelism event. And we will go to a local church like yours. Pastor usually invites us and says, hey, come and help us do an outreach to the kids in the neighborhood. So we will go into that church, and after school, while the kids are walking home, we'll drive around the neighborhood with Sunday school teachers and children's leaders from the church and invite the children to come. We have costume characters, we have megaphones, and we say woza woza woza, which means come to church, and then we'll say walala wasala, and which means if you snooze you lose.
That's a rough translation.
and we tell come to church, you're gonna have a great time. And the children will come into the church, and sometimes that church is just a big tent, or it only has the roof, there's no walls to the building. And it
depends on the church.
Yep, we will do a service. We'll do like a typical children's church service at your church. We'll have worship. We'll have a memory verse. We'll have Bible stories. We'll have games. We'll have other activities, and then at the end we'll have a time of prayer. And then, because it's after school and kids, while they're free to roam around all day long, mamas want them home before dark. And in the winter months of June, July, and August, it gets dark about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we finish up quickly, and we send all the children home with a book that tells them the gospel message and a sweetie, which is usually a lollipop of some sort. And we tell them, go home, so your mom will let you come back tomorrow. And we'll go to that church every day for 5 days. And then most of those kids will accept Jesus. Some will be filled with the Holy Spirit. They learn how to pray for people, and then they will often come back to that church on Sunday for the regular Sunday service for kids. And we get to do those all over South Africa with local Sunday school teachers, children's leaders, pastors, and reach like hundreds of children. We will have 200, 300, 400, even up to 1,000 kids that will come packing into a church after school every day for a whole week.
And the goal is certainly to get the kids back into church on Sunday. And so before they come into the service, we get their name, we get their address, and then the teachers from that church later on go back to those homes, visit the parents, visit the kids, and try and get those parents and those kids back in the church.
Okay, so you really push not only just reaching out to kids and families, but making sure they get connected with the local pastor, making sure that they get plugged in, and so that way you're not just getting them saved and then they're not dying, but the parable of the seed, we're not just putting them on the rocky path where they sprout up and they die, or the thorns where they get choked out. But you guys try to make sure you get them the good soil and make sure that they're getting invested in and built into. Exactly.
I often tell people that doing a children's crusade in Africa is probably it's probably some of the most fun you'll ever have. And it's really easy to get children to raise their hands and make some sort of commitment to Christ. Mm-hmm. The hard part is that discipleship afterwards. Yeah. So getting them into church and getting the children discipled. And that's why we spend time with the church before and after, training them in how to build up a good children's ministry service and getting the names and addresses so that the teachers can follow up and get the kids back in church.
Yeah. So would you say that is there a large focus on kids in Africa, or is that a newer thing, or is that kind of a struggle?
It varies from country to country and from church to church. Obviously, there are some places where pastors are really excited, and there are good quality children's ministries programs. But there are also a lot of places where children's ministries is it's expensive to run. It takes quite a few people to actually do it, and so it falls to the bottom of the list of things that a church wants to do because they feel like they can't afford it, and they feel like they don't have the people to do it. And so one thing we try to do as part of our job is to help pastors see the connection between children's ministries and the long-term health of their church, so that they see that it's worth the time, it's worth the effort, it's worth the money to do children's ministries.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something, especially here, we take for granted because in our church here alone, we have an entire sanctuary for our kids, and so they have the youth group uses on Wednesdays, but the kids get it all on Sunday, and we have 2 projectors, we have a computer to run it, we have speakers, and we don't really realize how special that is to have that. And I remember going to a church whenever I was down there visiting you guys, and all it was a roof, and they had some rubber mats they throw on the ground so the grass wouldn't grow up. And I don't remember who it was, but one of our team members actually rolled their ankle because the floor wasn't even, because the mat they're not touching, like they're just they got them as close as they could, and so it's just a very different experience.
Yeah, most kids don't have a building to meet in. They're meeting outside along the edge of the church, in the shade of the church, maybe under a large tree, or maybe under a structure like you saw, where it's just a roof that might be made out of tin, but it could be made out of grass. They have to come to church very, very early and do their program in the church, but before the worship team comes to practice and the pastors come to pray, and the church then has their service. They don't have nice buildings, and they certainly don't have chairs for kids to sit in, or sound systems or projectors or screens, or they don't have a lot. You have to pretty much, as a teacher, carry what you're going to teach in a backpack and stand there with the kids sitting on the ground on mats for your children's lessons. That's for sure.
Wow, that's tough. Well, I'll jump to another question for you guys. So this one's kind of a fun question. What's your favorite snack or your favorite food from Africa, wherever you guys are, whether it's South Africa or wherever you're working? I know there's a lot of different options there, but
That's a great question. Of course, one of our favorite restaurants we go to, there's a place called Nando's Chicken, and it's a unique South Africa restaurant, but we absolutely love it. It's grilled chicken. It's got
African pepper spice that they spice it with is an African pepper. I love to drink a certain kind of tea called rooibos tea, and it's only found in South Africa. I mean, you can buy it in other places, but it's made in South Africa from a certain bush.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites, but I think Earl has a fun favorite snack.
my favorite. Now this is a potato chip. So they have this potato chip brand called Simba, and
From the Lion King, of course.
Right.
Everyone's familiar with Simba, right? And so this potato chip brand, they have a flavor called tomato sauce, and it's actually like ketchup.
It's ketchup flavored potato chips.
Yes, it's my favorite potato chip in South Africa. I know that sounds crazy.
That sounds
but it's my
gross.
favorite.
You know, my brother growing up had a t-shirt that said I put ketchup on my ketchup. I feel like that might be an appropriate shirt for you, Earl.
Yes, definitely.
I put ketchup on my potato chips is pretty much how that goes right there. I love the salt and vinegar, but I will say this one fun snack for some friends of ours that live just a little further north of us is fried termites.
Okay.
So termites are these are flying termites.
Yep.
And during the rainstorms, they will flock into the houses. So if you don't have all your windows and doors closed, which is very common, during a rainstorm, hundreds of termites will come flying into your house, and they will eventually die, and you'll have a huge pile on the floor. They scoop them up, pull off the wings, pull off the heads, fry them up in a pan, and they're like having a bowl of peanuts, but it's a bowl of fried termites, and they're actually not bad at all. We've had them.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's more Botswana, Zimbabwe. That's not really a South African thing, but they're very interesting, to say the least. I'm not sure it'd be my favorite, but they're very interesting.
So do people leave their windows open on purpose for that reason?
That'd be a good question
That's a good
to ask them.
question. Mostly we leave them open because we have no air conditioning,
Yeah.
and so we want the breeze. But you have to wonder, maybe someone does.
Yeah. All right. So the next question for you guys is, how has BGMC helped you guys, or how have you guys used BGMC to help out Africa while you're missionaries there?
Goodness, so many different ways. I'll speak for just a moment about Africa's Hope, where I talked about earlier, where I am helping with the Bible schools. Just last year, BGMC helped us buy bookshelves for Bible school libraries. They helped us buy and ship textbooks, lots and lots of textbooks to students in those Bible schools, as well as helped us with creating a device where the textbooks for the students are recorded on an audio device where the student can listen to the book like Audible, because a lot of people can't read. They don't have that ability. Maybe a war prevented them from going to school when they were young, and they never had the opportunity to learn how to read. So this little device reads the books to them in their language so they can study and learn to become a pastor. I see those buddy barrels on the shelf behind you right there.
Yeah,
and that reminds me of in South Africa, our children's ministries people there have started their own version of BGMC called CMC, Children's Missionary Challenge. And they're getting ready to create their own device to collect money. I think that's pretty exciting that South African kids are being inspired by American kids to raise money for missions. But BGMC for us in doing children's ministries, the list is huge of the things that BGMC's gotten for us. Video projectors, video screens, sound systems, lots and lots of puppet stages, Bible quiz boards, that we can use to, do junior Bible quiz with the kids in South Africa. Goodness, what are some of the other things that BGMC's? Oh, we start after school feeding programs because there's a lot of orphans in South Africa. And so we've helped some of our churches start programs where they feed the kids after school. And so BGMC has helped us buy pots and pans and plates and cups and spoons and school supplies and all the stuff that those churches need to cook for and feed those children every day after school. For most kids, it's the only meal of the day they're going to get.
Wow. Yeah, they help with the stuff it takes to cook. The churches go out and then they each church raises their own money to maintain it on a daily basis. But the money from BGMC buys all the stuff that lets them cook it. So it's been incredible. We can't say thank you enough to BGMC.
That's awesome. That's cool. I think it's a really big encouragement for our kids, because I think a lot of times, we say we need to raise money for BGMC. It helps around the world, but we don't know what it does or how we're helping. And I know a few stories just from the missionaries I know, but if I say that every single month, they get old pretty quick, and I have to do some more research. And so hearing what BGMC does for you guys is I think really important for our kids, because it's more than just the stories that I know, the missionaries that I know.
Well, and when you came to South Africa, those children that got to come to camp came because of BGMC. BGMC paid for them to ride that bus and to come to camp for that week and experience God. BGMC helped put the roofs on the buildings that you slept in. They helped bring in the playground set that was there. All of those things that made that camp fun. So if you think about what you do when you go to camp, all the stuff you get to have and play with, BGMC's made that possible for the kids in South Africa too. So, and like when we do the evangelism events, the costume characters that we use, that was BGMC, the sound equipment, the puppets, even the music that we play, BGMC helps us get that music.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think it kind of leads into the next question then, is how, our kids can give to BGMC. Is there any other ways that our kids can help you guys with Africa, being missionaries? Is there a specific something we can pray for you for? Or is there other things that we can do to help you guys reach kids?
Yeah, we definitely want all the children praying. And I can't overemphasize that enough. It's so critical that our churches get our children praying for the needs and for the children of Africa and really around the world, to be able to have churches that are excited about children's ministries, and they can be discipled, they can experience the love and the presence of Jesus Christ. And so we really want those children to be praying about that. And I really believe that there are children in your church that God is going to call to be missionaries one day. And so I really believe that in addition to giving and praying, that as they give and as they pray, that God is going to speak to some of their lives, and those kids are going to be called to missions as well.
Yeah, I believe that too, and so we'll be praying for you. That's one of the things we're going to put in front of them. I know last time we hung out, we had these prayer journals, and so one of the things that we want to do after everyone sees this is I want to encourage our church and our families to go through these. So, as you guys know, I got 100 of these journals to hand out, and I want all of our families to go through it. And so that's one of the things we're gonna push is I want everyone to have one of these. You guys, I know you guys know a little bit about it. Can you just briefly explain a couple things with it?
Absolutely. That is a 21-day Africa's Children prayer journal. It's going to walk you through 12 different countries on the continent of Africa. So you're going to learn a little bit about that country. You're going to learn about the needs in that area, that country, and it'll maybe get out. I would encourage kids and parents to get out a map, bring up on Google Maps Africa, and find where that country is. Find out if it's in Southern Africa or Central Africa, if it's on the east or on the west. Maybe expand your geography a little bit on the continent of Africa. and it is a big continent, and there's a lot of countries there. So this will help you to learn a little bit more about 12 different countries in Africa. But then on top of that, it's going to tell you about some very specific needs, like the need for training children's ministries workers and the different types of events that we have for training, or about compassion needs, or for unreached people groups where communities, they've never heard of Jesus, they've never heard the gospel. If they heard about Jesus, they wouldn't have anyone to talk to about Jesus, because there's no church, there's no pastors, there's not even any other Christians there. So it's going to walk you through some of those different needs and initiatives that Africa's Children is doing, like helping churches get buildings or structures for kids to meet under rather than meeting outside. So it's going to really help you understand a little bit more, not only about the continent, but about the needs and the opportunities for giving and praying for children's ministries in Africa.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited for our families to get this. So if any families that are watching this, please text me, call the church. I will deliver it to you guys so you guys can have this because it's really important, and we want to pray for both for Laura and Earl, but also for the whole continent of Africa through this for our 21 days with that. So I'm super glad that I was able to get those from you guys last time we hung out. So
yeah,
we are thrilled that you took them and that you're going to give them to your families. They're going to pray. Thank you.
Exciting.
Yep. Well, I would love to be able to pray for you guys as we wrap this up, and if that would be all right.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Dear God, I thank you for Laura and Earl, Lord. I thank you for their passion for Africa and their passion for children, Lord. And I'm so glad that you have brought them into my life so that way they can share the love of Christ with me and through our church family here, God. And I pray that you continue to empower them, you continue to strengthen them, and you continue to do miraculous works through them, Lord, for the continent of Africa, Lord. I pray that you open doors for them, that they can reach into schools and different places that they were struggling to get into, and that they can be a powerful couple for the continent of Africa, Lord. And they can be impacting millions of lives as they're doing their mission work, God. So we thank you for Laura and Earl, Lord, and we pray your blessing over them. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much. It was great to visit with you, to see you, and we'll connect again in the future in person.
Yes, I'm hoping to get you guys here soon. So
love it.
That's my goal.
Yes, can't wait to come.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Have a great rest
Bless
of
you
your day.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for tuning in with our interview with Earl and Laura Goodrich. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys learned a lot about Africa and what they do and what BGMC does all around the world. All right, when we give to BGMC, we help missionaries like Earl and Laura Goodrich do what they want to do and what they love to do to reach kids everywhere. Well, I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Next week, we are going to be having an interview with Mr. Jack Kersell, and it's going to be epic, and we're going to get very, very wet. I'll see you guys then.